GreenCape works at the intersection of government, industry and civil society. Really, we look for opportunities for commercially viable green technologies in emerging economies. Our market intelligence reports, we produce those annually across 6 different sectors. Those are the reports that we use to try to highlight the opportunities that we've seen in the green economy in South Africa. It's a wonderful opportunity to showcase where the country is moving to, what the changes are in legislation, in policy, which companies are doing well in a sector, and what we think the opportunities are in the long run. Our market intelligence reports are one of the ways that we work with our funders towards our vision of a thriving Africa. We've had great relationships with the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, City of Cape Town, the Western Cape Government, and various partners from national government here in South Africa.
A strong and balanced energy sector is essential to allowing South Africa to address many of the wicked problems that we face, while setting up that opportunity for a strong and resilient green economy. Rising electricity prices coupled with decreased renewable energy technology costs and positive government policies are really setting the stage to allow South Africa to promote universal access to energy, to drive local job creation and really promote increased investment in the South African economy.
Since the recent gazetted RIP 2019 draft, there's been an increased allocation in the renewable energy space and also an indication of how much coal would be decommissioned. And I think that is quite a very strong commitment from the minister to sort of really give more confidence in the industry in terms of where the country is going in the energy mix policy.
The term energy services is used to describe 2 key market segments in the energy space, namely small-scale embedded generation or SSCG, which includes rooftop photovoltaic or PV systems and energy storage, and 2, energy efficiency. These 2 market segments are increasingly bolstered by opportunities in the energy finance sector. Hot opportunities or emerging opportunities in the space. For embedded generation, we have rooftop PV system bundling with standardized contracts. We have solar PV for energy resellers, operations and maintenance only contracts, and behind-the-meter battery storage. And in energy efficiency, we are looking at the modernization of South Africa's large stock of existing buildings.
The South African automotive industry represents 7% of our national GDP, as well as around 30% of our manufacturing industry. And that means that the world's transition towards electric vehicles and a cleaner mobility sector provides some exciting opportunities, both for this market to expand through the manufacture of public and private electric vehicles, as well as for the creation of new industries through the manufacture of batteries to supply this market. The move towards a cleaner transport sector for the country represents an exciting economic opportunity and job creation opportunity for South Africa.
I think the major shifts that we're seeing from the 2019 MIR to the 2020 MIR, specifically in agriculture and water, is that people are moving from a reactionary drought kind of response approach to rather thinking about their investments to improve resilience in the longer term. I think there's a much greater awareness of the kind of climate shocks that we can expect into the future, and businesses are really looking to secure their own income and their production into the future, and are really thinking very seriously about the kind of investments that are needed to make that a reality.
We've known for quite some time that climate change is going to result in less rainfall, particularly in the western half of the country. And we know that population growth, increased population growth, is going to require more water in the future, as well as economic growth. Some of the key drivers currently in the water sector is for the government to increase resilience to extreme climate events, and also to ensure that water is not a constraint to economic growth in the future. Some of the encouraging signs that we're seeing from a policy and regulation point of view is that government is increasing its support for infrastructure projects that are privately financed, and developing a broader pipeline of projects that can be implemented by municipalities and water management agencies.
The 2020 MIR, we identified 2 major opportunities, one which is in the industrial market and the second one which is in the municipal market. So in terms of the industrial market, we identified the agri-processing sector, which has been earmarked for the national growth, and we identified energy efficiency opportunities, which also includes water reuse in the agri-processing sector. And we also identified the municipal market where I talk about bulk water and wastewater infrastructure. In that sector, we have identified also energy efficiency opportunities, and we are also looking at water reuse, which is water reclamation, potable water reuse. So these two major opportunities in the municipal market, mainly focusing on the large South African metros.
We look more at the primary agriculture sector. Some of the opportunities we've identified that we think will play a significant role. Firstly, precision agriculture. That's a focus on becoming as efficient as possible with your inputs, especially water. So here specifically we look at kind of remote sensing applications for precision agriculture. So this is mostly drone and satellite data. Another opportunity is undercover farming. This ranges from low-tech agriculture, such as your netting and your tunnel systems, to more sophisticated systems where you have full control over every single aspect of your production. Conservation agriculture. This is essentially a soil health management tool for the long term. Another key opportunity we'll be focusing on for the first time this year in the MIR is looking at the kind of urban agriculture space within South Africa. We've recovered slightly from the drought, but there's still an impact in the agriculture sector, long-term kind of effect. Where is this going in the future, and how does the sector invest to more proactively become resilient in the longer term?
A lot of the drive has been driven from the municipal waste management landscape, where we're seeing more increased dedication and funding of waste management projects, voluntary participation initiatives such as the Plastics Pact, as well as increased public awareness.
So we see the biggest opportunities in general waste, in the organics, plastics, builders' rubble and e-waste spaces, and we expect that will unlock an extra 1.2 billion rand annually. So what we see as the key drivers in the next 3 to 5 years are imminent landfill bans and restrictions. So that's in the organics, e-waste and the plastic space. Looking to increase the recyclability of all plastics packaging within South Africa. And finally, particularly in terms of the rubble space, we see the rising logistics and the virgin material costs as real incentives for the market development in this area.
The Western Cape Industrial Symbiosis Program is a program that utilizes a concept called industrial symbiosis. What happens there is we identify what are called underutilized resources that businesses have. That's mostly waste and byproducts. So we identify those, then we try to find other companies that can use those waste as resources. So one company's waste can be used by another as a resource. So this concept can actually assist companies meet the triple bottom line. Industrial symbiosis is an instrument that can be used to drive the circular economy because it assists with integrating secondary materials back into the economy, which is what circular economy is all about. It's all about closing material loops, and that's what industrial symbiosis does by looking at the waste hierarchy and focusing on the first 3 tiers of the hierarchy, which are avoid, reuse and recycling.
GreenCape does a lot of work in the green economy, broader green economy. The subsectors we work in are the water, waste, renewable energy and agriculture sectors. Once an investor has identified opportunities therein, they're able to lean on GreenCape for assistance in further understanding the market from a more technical point of view, but also they can tap into the broader investment ecosystem, which comprises a collaborative effort between Invest Cape Town, which is a department in the city of Cape Town, the Western Cape Government, Invest SA, which is the National Investment Promotion Agency, Westgrow, and then obviously ourselves as GreenCape.
The market intelligence reports provide an overview of a specific sector. They identify key and emerging opportunities in that sector and potential barriers to those opportunities. They also provide insight into major developments that have taken place within the sector and key role players. They summarize legislation and regulation in that sector, and I think critically they provide funding opportunities or insight into funding opportunities in those sectors.